In this video, we're going to have a look at some of the inventory functions that are available in Business Central. Now, inventory is a huge area, and this will by no means cover all of the functionality, but should give you an indicator as to the types of functions you can do within the inventory. It's a pretty complete module. Okay, so let's have a look from our item listings. And I'm just going to drill into one of the items and we'll have a look at what we can set up there, which is then going to give us the indicator of the functions available. So in our item section, we're setting up some basic descriptions, and you can see from the type that we can have different items. So we've got inventory that we're tracking, we've got some service and non-inventory styles as well. Units of measure, you've got the ability to set up multiple units of measure. So you can set up the different ordering units. So your base might be each, and then you can also either order or sell in boxes and pallets. You can also see that you can track heights and widths, lengths, cubage and weight, and those become important when trying to allocate out things like shipping costs or how to fill a container. So you've got stats that you can keep against your individual objects. You've got different categorisation that you can put in. And if we go into the inventory area, you can get to the level of recording shelves and so forth, so you can set up the within your warehouse locations that you want to use. Different search descriptions, you can see your different weights here. Coming down into your costs and posting, there's multiple different costing methods that you can use. So FIFO, LIFO, average and standard. And then there's also the specific costing, and you'd use that more linked to serial numbers. So if you were doing more custom type inventory, then you might have one item for a custom computer that you're building from scratch, and based on the serial number, you have a cost associated with that item. All of the posting details link into the different posting groups, and because you can have multiple different posting groups, that does mean you can track through different GL codes depending on the item. So if you are someone who has furnishings and have kitchen goods, you might want all of the information related to those items going to separate parts of the chart of accounts. In prices and sales, click on the show more so we can see what's there. You've got the unit price you can set. You've got the option here about how you calculate your price. Is your profit created by price minus cost, i.e. that you are setting your unit price? Or are you doing it cost plus profit, in which case you'd be setting a profit percentage? You can set up different sales prices and discounts. May have some set up. Yep, so different funding options means they've got different unit prices for things. A bit of a variance in this particular item. So you can set up different groupings. You can set up campaigns, sales that you've got date related. So quite a bit of functionality associated with pricing that you can do on both sales and purchasing. The replenishment area gets interesting, this replenishment combined with planning. So from your master item, you can replenish by purchasing, by doing a production order if you're using the more full manufacturing, or an assembly order if you're using more light manufacturing. You've got the vendor you would purchase from, and what your assembly policy is if your replenishment was assembly. So you can assemble to stock or assemble to order. The assembly BOM you can link in, and you can create your new bill of materials where you are putting an item against it, or you're putting resources against it to build up the recipe for the item. So it supports that light manufacturing. You've also got the ability to have variance against your item. So that kind of helps with some of the colouring. So if you're selling one item and you've got 5 different colors, you can keep those 5 different colors against the single inventory item code, should you wish. In the planning area, you have got a number of different order points and reserving of stocks, different dampening periods, safety stocks. You've got this lot accumulation period, which is quite interesting. All of your maximum and minimums. The lot accumulation period is about how you combine things together with the combination of a sales forecast and forward orders. So there's some good planning features where you can create a planning worksheet and have it tell you the suggested purchasing or suggested production that you're going to need. The lot accumulation period ties in. So if you're taking orders, for example, on a daily basis, you're taking forward orders, your lot accumulation period you might set to 2 weeks because you want to look at what the 2 weeks worth of orders are and combine that into a single assembly or a single purchase order. That ties in with the reordering policy up here, where you've got maximum quantities or a fixed amount, or this lot for lot. So the lot for lot ties in with that accumulation period. That works really, really nicely. In the item tracking area, this is where you might have something that you're tracking by lot numbers or by serial numbers. So the item tracking code, you just set that up as a header and then you decide whether it's serial numbers or lot numbers that you're tracking. And in the warehousing area, you've got a few different options if you're getting into the level of tracking when you're moving goods between one shelf and another and so forth. So that would come into some pretty intensive warehousing that you would start to use that sort of thing. So this is our main item card, but then associated with that, we will have stock keeping units. And your stock keeping units come into play if you have got more than one location. So it might be that you have a head office and retail stores, or it might be that you just have 2 different warehouses. So you set up the stock keeping units, and when we drill into the card associated with that, it looks very much the same as what we've just seen. But there is quite a bit of information that just rolls down from your master card. One of the key things to consider here is that you've got a different option now than in your replenishment system, and you can replenish via transfer. And so then you've got a transfer from code. So if you have production or purchasing happening out of a centralized warehouse and then it's distributed to other locations, then you set that stock keeping unit to say that they are a transfer, and they might be a transfer from your default location. At both the stock keeping level and the MasterCard, you can set up dimensions against your items. So you might have items belonging to a specific department, you might have them associated with a specific line of business that you're tracking. Anything that you're tracking, you can set those up as being default values against the item. So the other key thing to note if we look from the main item card is that you've got some functions here to attach attributes and have attachments against your documents. You can see on the right hand side you can load a picture against it, and this would list any attributes that you've got associated with it. And you've also got this little forecast button down here. So if we just have a look at our forecast area, it should come up, demand forecasts. Oh, I haven't got one set up. We just give it a description, a name and a description, and then we can edit the demand forecast. So within here, it picks up all of your items. You can utilize filters to spread this out, and you can import this from Excel via configuration packages. So we might forecast based on a week, we might forecast based on a month or a day or however. So you can set in a forecast, and that's going to then link into the planning processes. With planning, there are these planning worksheets, and I'm not going to run it right now, but what we can do is prepare, we can calculate this regenerative plan. And so from there, we're looking at NPS or MRP planning. We've got our starting and ending dates. We can bring in the forecast, and we can choose to exclude the forecast before certain dates, which is important as you move on. You can filter by item or description. You could filter by locations. So this process will then give you a suggested list of items to purchase, to assemble, to transfer. and that can then be used to create the individual transaction documents. So it's quite a handy little function. You've got all the stock keeping processes as you would expect, and journals to record stock movements, increases, decreases, all of those features. Another nice little feature I'd like to highlight is the ability to use item charges. So let's drop into a purchase invoice, and I'm going to create a new invoice from, let's go from advanced, and let's put an invoice number. And what we can do is we can use this item charge feature. And that gives you the ability to, I've just got one set up for freight, to record freight coming in. So I'm just going to do one at $1,000. Okay, and what we can do with this then is we can line, related information, item charge assignment. Within the item charge assignment, if I had other items on this invoice, so the freight charge was part of an invoice from a supplier with items, they would be listed here. In this particular scenario, the freight charge I'm associating with other orders. It might be that you import goods and you've now got your freight invoice that's come in, and it might relate to one or more containers that contain one or more items. So what we can do is we can get receipt lines. And when we get the receipt lines, we can now see all goods receipt lines that have been received throughout the system. And so based on your documentation, you can then say, actually, it relates to all of these items, and hit OK. That brings your lines in. And then with the item charge assignment, this is where those weights and volumes come in. We can split charges equally by the amount on the invoice, by the weight, by the volume. I'm just going to go by amount, and it's going to distribute those costs out across the 4 receipts. And that updates your inventory costing in the background. So that's quite a nice function. Now, it doesn't matter if the inventory is already posted and sold, it's going to go back and update all of the underlying cost layers and cost of goods sold and so forth as appropriate. Okay, let's have a look at a transfer document. So transfer orders. I'm just going to pop into this one I've already got open. What we can see within the transfer orders, you've got a transfer from and a transfer to code and a direct transfer option. By using direct transfer, it's just going to take it from one location to the other straight away. If you don't use that, then you've got options of using in-transit inventory locations so that you can send it to the in-transit, and then when it gets to the other end, do a receipt from in-transit back into the stock on hand. That helps you keep track of where your stock is at any point in time. Reports wise, if we go back to our items screen, there's a number of different reports available throughout the system. You can optionally keep a goods received not invoice register if you want. We've got a number of different reports here. So all of your inventory listings is really good. You've got your items received not invoiced, all of your details, finance reports, so giving you your valuation and different item ages. So you've got loads of different reporting options available to you to drill into that inventory further. So that gives you a very high level look at the inventory module within Business Central. As I said earlier, huge functionality, and we can certainly help you with looking at details more specific to your site.